Very good evening to everybody. It's Thursday. It's somewhere in June. It's chilly in Joburg. The cold front is coming, and this is Candid Conversations from Lockdown. We remain in level 3. There was some breaking news that shows or training shows could be on the horizon in a few weeks' time. So we look forward to more correspondence about that. This show brought to you by Kyalami Question Park in association with Mumpro SA and I4 Williams Trailers. My guest this evening hails from KwaZulu-Natal. Well, at least that's where he's been based for the last 20-odd years or so. We'll pick his brain about that. He is a rider, he's a coach, he's a breeder, he owns a top-class equestrian setup. And, of course, I'm talking none other than Grant Langley. Grant, how are you?
Good and you, thanks, Aidan.
I am. How's the weather down there? Has the cold front hit Natal?
It is actually pouring with rain here at the moment.
Ah.
Yeah, figure that.
Yeah. In Natal, really?
Yeah, middle of winter, pouring with rain.
Yeah, well, that's so how has lockdown been for you? Have you guys remained up and running and ticking the horses over?
Yeah, it was quite interesting. I think it was a little bit, we were unsure as to what to expect. We closed the yard completely. We had to move all our grooms in to stay on the property. So it was all those sort of checks and balances that we had to have in place. And everybody was a little apprehensive, but it actually went off really well. I must say it was a great team to work with, and we got to work all the horses. We kept all our clients' horses in work and our own. And I actually think it was, for possibly being something that was like that you don't want to really be involved with, it actually worked out for the better.
I liked your hobby horse video. Your commentary was stellar, top class. You're giving me a run for my money.
Don't feel threatened, Aidan. I'm not there yet.
Grant, you're a man who wears many, many hats in the equestrian fraternity. A big force in Natal, and you do a lot of traveling up and down the highway to come and compete on the high felt. But we want to hear the whole story. You're not originally from Natal. You're a Joburg boy.
Yeah, I was brought up in Joburg, spent all my sort of junior career and early adult career in Joburg. Worked there, was involved with horses for quite some time, did lots of other things as well, but horses was always the main passion. And then I got the opportunity to relocate down to...
Well, hang on. Don't skip over the whole story. We don't want the Reader's Digest abridged version. We want the whole story. So let's go right back to the beginning. So, horsey background, parents horsey, fell into it by mistake?
Not from a horsey family at all. Grew up on a small holding in Honeydew, and
well, that's horse country.
Yeah, and wasn't born into horses or anything like that. My parents made the fatal mistake of getting me a pony after I'd left home 2 or 3 times, and they found me on the farm next door with the cattle. So they reckoned that by getting a pony, it would maybe keep me at peace at home.
Wait. Why did you leave home 3 times? Were you just a belligerent child? I tried that once or twice as well. I lasted a few hours.
Yeah, this was only to go and spend time with animals on the farm next door. So, because I first saw the cattle, and I thought, well, cattle are quite nice, and with cattle, I also wanted the horses. So I was 3 years old when I left. So, okay. Yeah, great parenting, but they...
Where's he gone? Oh, he's gone to play with the cows again, Doris.
So yeah, and I mean it's been a long journey that started from there, and I think it's something that gets in under your skin, and you can stop it for certain lengths of time, but if it's in you, it's there to stay, and it's a terribly addictive sport.
But now tell me, this pony that you got, was it a competitive pony or just a farm pony that they got you as a companion? How did it progress from there?
Okay, so it wasn't not my pony rider career. There was no pony riders and stuff like that. I mean, basically it was a farm pony. It was a Shetland pony. It was like Lucifer itself. The only thing that I could do was that our gardener helped me. He led me around the garden a couple of times until they reckon, no, if you took it and you let it go at the bottom of the driveway, it ran like hell up the driveway back to its stable. And that's how I learned to hang on for dear life, which is going in straight line, flat out. And yeah, it progressed from there. I mean, then obviously that pony was, I mean, you couldn't do anything with it. It was an evil little Shetland pony.
As most Shetlands are.
Yeah, no, it was, yeah. And yeah, I've got him to thank for starting my career. And then I wanted an upgrade. So after begging my folks and that, my mom was, no, not going to happen. My dad, we missed one family lunch, Sunday luncheon, because we had found one and we went to go and buy it. And was in Farm Hall, and he bought me a pony for 100 Rand with its bridle and saddle. It was very, very green. I tried it on the lunge. It was fast. I said it was fabulous. And that's where it started.
Oh, brilliant. And that pony, did you take into the ring, and who was helping you? Who was coaching you?
Okay, I started going to riding school. Sharon Stables was Judy Stegman and Sue Goodman, they had quite a big setup. So I used to hack across there. It was quite a ride.
Which Sue Goodman is that? Because I think there are like 3 of them, and it's very confusing. And they're all in showing.
Sue Goodman from James Goodman,
Yes,
the hot blonde one, you know that one.
Yes, yeah. Sue Thomas, Judy, and I know her very well.
Yeah.
I'll tell her how you feel about it.
Yeah, no, they were fabulous. I mean, they really. I mean, I used to use a school pony there. There was a fight if I didn't get my pony Salamander when I went there for riding lessons, and then I started to take my own pony. And yeah, I wasn't affiliated or anything as as a pony rider or anything. Just at training shows, lots of pony club. I think that was probably one of the greatest foundations for me, was Pony Club, to go and do all the different things there. I really learned a lot there. And yeah, I mean,
into juniors.
Into juniors, yeah. I mean, I started competing obviously at a lower level. I wasn't one of the rich and famous kids. I had horses that were like off the track that you had to produce yourself. And so it was a bit of a long haul in that. I got my best horse, my junior horse that I got was from Kevin Morgan. Was a part-bred Frisian called Cobalt. Was the most unorthodox horse, but as brave as a lion. And I jumped him up to JA. And I think having that sense of accomplishment, getting him to jump around a course where everybody was going down in a normal 5 strides and I was going down in a flat out 6, you know, I mean, was quite something for me. And
so what are you saying? Nothing's changed over the years?
Well, I can't say I've been spoiled for choice with the horses that I've got.
Now you'd go down in a flat out 4. You've dropped 2 strides.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, definitely.
But you jumped a Frisian to JA. I didn't know Frisians could jump too well.
Neither did I. I mean, it took me about a year to get it out of JD or JC then in those days, because it just never jumped a clear round. And then one day, I don't know whether it had a mild seizure or something, it learned that it could jump, and it never looked back from then. So,
but I like what you said, that you had to do it yourself, because that kind of, yes, you know, you want to go through juniors and be competitive but when you're forced to produce these horses, it really sets you up nicely for later on in life with your horsemanship and knowledge and knowing what it's all about, and the ability to produce horses in your adult years where it matters. As a horseman, as a rider, that's what we do.
I think it's a vital part of it, you know. And I mean, look, it was a slog then. And I mean, when I look back and you know, you saw how well mounted some of the other juniors were, and the money that they were already spending there, it was quite difficult to sort of say, like, can I actually be part of the sport? But if you have the passion for it and you understand the horses, I think that if you keep on persevering, you get through. And I wasn't a spoiled kid.
And it shows a true passion for the horse, like the real reasons why we do this are the horse. And if you can stick it out where you not getting the results and you having to do the hard yards and slog it out because you love the horse. That's really what it all comes down to. That's what should be first and foremost.
100%, you know. And I mean, people often ask me, like, which is your most favorite horse? Which horse do you like to ride the most? And that, and it's every single horse is different. You know, they've got their own personalities, and you know, some horses, if I'm not having a great day, you know, maybe somebody's irritated me and I'm not in the best frame of mind, and it's like, okay, I won't start with that one today. I'll start with somebody else, and then, you know, progress to it. But you've got to give each horse their own way, their own identity, and you know, have a goal at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah. And again, it's not always the superstars that are winning big classes and big Grand Prix that endear themselves or give you the most satisfaction. Sometimes it's the novices who have little quirks and you just work through a problem and they get it. That can be the most rewarding thing.
Definitely. I mean, I love my young horses. I love spending time with the horses. I go down and check them at night. I like to spend time with them and do various things. You know, I mean, there's sometimes when people say, oh, you've got other people that can help you with your horses. But you know what? I try and plan my day that my horses are my horses, and I spend time with them, and I vary it. You know, it's not that they're always in the school. So they go out in the cane. We do a bit of cross country, everything that we can with them.
I remember the days of the sugarcane. You're so spoiled with those rides. It's the best. Grant, going back to your childhood, schooling, siblings, any other sports that you played, or was it just horses?
No. So primary school was Boskop School. So
what?
Yeah, English Afrikaans parallel medium school. So we were outnumbered. The bootkies used to try and blixen us, and we used to try and get back in. But you know, it was all part of growing up in love and war. And yeah, so I mean, that we used to, you know, cycle to school, cycle home, those sort of things. And sports always had to do school sports, so did all the athletics, the rugby, all those sort of things. I've played squash. I've tried quite a few different sports over the years. I've done some speed ski racing. I did powerboat racing, and tried a little bit of
what is speed ski racing? Like on the water?
On the water, yeah. Where you go behind a boat
as fast as you can.
Yes, yeah. So there was one long race that they used to do from the Riviera Hotel at the Vaal all the way to Loch Vaal and back. I mean, I don't know, it's like 80 Ks or something like that. It's like a long distance one. We used to did that a couple of times, and yeah, I mean, it's
80 Ks behind a boat as fast as you can, racing other people.
Yes. So
I didn't even know that such a sport existed. What sort of speeds do you get up to? We've digressed from horses, by the way.
Sorry?
I say we've digressed from horses, but this is interesting. What sort of speeds do you get up to?
Look, I don't know exactly what speeds. I was always the kippy hanging on the ski rope at the back, so I didn't get to see the speeds. But yeah, I mean, you learn to do it. It's a different ski. It's one big ski, long ski, and yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. And that the problem was that it's, you know, to train, to travel there all the time, you can't do it. So, you know, on a regular basis, unless you base it.
That sounds absolutely mental. That'll teach you to take a fall.
Yeah. Look, I mean, one or two of those falls there, I mean, you can see your Arlie in 3D, and yeah, it's quite hectic. So, but you know, it's doable.
Sure. So your junior years, were you still coached on the horses by Sue, or did you change up coaches? Did you go to a jumping facility? Did you ride out of that riding school?
They ended up sort of moving on from Sharon Stables and setting it, and yeah, then I mean, started in the area, rode a little bit with Di Dale, Wayne Dale's mom. I mean, she was always, you know, good one to have around. I mean, she always made you feel like you could do it, and there was no getting out of it. You know, you got to the other side, come do or die. So Wayne, I mean, Di Dale helped me a little bit, and then yeah, you know, it's sort of to travel then to travel from where we were was also a little bit tricky because my folks worked and things. So I went for a couple of lessons early on with Anne Marie at the original Chartwell stable, or the stables that
Carswell.
Carswell, that's it, yeah. But you know, it was quite intermittent because of not being able to get there all the time. And yeah, so I mean, that's a lot of it I did on my own at home.
So you had the Frisian at home, and you set up a little facility and an arena, and your parents were backing you, and that was your passion.
Yeah. So my folks said, I said to them, you know, you don't understand. I really need an arena. I can't use part of the vegetable garden anymore. So my dad said, well, if you need an arena, then best you help me do one. So he organized a grader and leveled it for me, and I had to plant it and water it and get the grass growing myself and the whole ABC until it was ready to go. And then yeah, so used that for a good few years until I stopped riding, you know, that property.
So after your journey, well, how much success did you have in junior? Did you set the world alight, or were you finding your feet in the Frisian?
No, I didn't set the world alight. No, I was just one of the class fitters for most of it, you know. You know, in the lower grades, yeah, I mean, picked up some good tickets and stuff like that. I had a very short sort of time in JA. It was a little bit sort of hit and miss and stuff, but it was something that I really sort of enjoyed, and I wanted to grow it from there. So when I turned 18, my folks said, look, over to you, Sunshine. If you want to do this horse thing, then, you know, there's the keys to the truck. You get yourself to shows, because we used to, you know, travel in the two-berth to shows all over the place and that. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure you were pretty much in the same boat with, you know, traveling to all those outlying shows. You know, like our way shows, we used to go to Kimberley, went to Kimberley once or twice, went to Belcom, those sort of places. Those were the bigger shows. But yeah, I wasn't a superstar.
So when did it really all kick off for you? You left school and you knew then that horses was what you wanted to do. So did you study afterwards?
Yes. So when I finished school, I went and I studied at the Pretoria Technikon. I did a national diploma in equine studies. At the same time, then I needed to sort of keep funding my competition riding career and stuff. So I started working at a spelling farm with young racehorses, training and work riding and all of that.
Where was that?
That was in Honeydew as well, Val Davidson's place.
Okay.
And they did a lot of pre-training for Gary Alexander.
Yes.
And when I was finishing up my studies, I then started my own spelling and pre-training center out in Kromdraai. And there we got quite a few horses from the Alexanders and some other owners, and did a lot of spelling and pre-training, a lot of the horses post-surgery and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, we had some good racehorses there as well. Backed Imperious Sue, who won the Jane B. Met one year.
Yeah.
And so you know, I've been involved with the racing a little bit as well. And
did you ever have a yearning to go into racing? Because I mean, you're about the size of a jockey.
Yeah, I tried at one stage. I didn't go into. I did a lot of work riding, but I didn't know what the procedure was to like get into the jockey academy and stuff like that. And but I started doing a little bit of when they were trying to do a bit of hurdle racing here in South Africa. I went and tried that a little bit, but it never sort of really got off the ground. But I did enjoy working with the racehorses. And then, yeah, when that sort of petered out, because I mean, farm that I was renting at that stage, they put on the market, and it was impossible. There's no ways that I could have bought it at that stage. So yeah, but I've been involved with a couple of quite nice racehorses. So I like to follow the racing a little bit, and I mean, I think it's great what like the likes of the Oppenheimer family have done to kickstart it. I mean, that's amazing. I think it's for our whole industry. It's very honourable.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you're in the thick of the racing now in Summerfeld. Do you go down to breakfast at the track and watch the gallops?
Yeah, we do. Every now and then we go and we watch the horses train a little bit every now and then. It's always nice when we've got visitors and stuff that they come in and watch the horses work in that. We've had like shares in one or two racehorses. We bred one or two racehorses, but one or two of those were, you know, they say, look at its pedigree, it's going to be a superstar, and then you go and watch it down the track, and you think, oh my God, the dressage horse is faster than that thing.
Yeah, not as easy as that. Eh?
No. So yeah.
So after the pre-training, when that folded, what was the next step?
While I was doing that as well, then I got the opportunity to apply for a job at Onderstepoort. And I worked as the stable manager for the equine hospital. And that was an amazing experience to work with some of those people, like the likes of Roy Gottschalk, Chris van der Berg, Prof. Sabran van der Berg. I mean, amazing, Prof. Stadler. Those people were like real champions to work with. I learned a lot there. Then also while working there, I carried on studying a little bit and through the tech and did my BTech Equine Sciences, so converted it to a degree. But yeah, the studying thing wasn't like the be all and the end all. It was actually being involved with the horses, the passion of working with them every day, which was amazing. And when you work in a facility like that, you get to see the true colors of some people in our industry that you know, they don't know who you are, but you've had like a lot of respect for them, and then you see the way they handle different situations and things like that, and it puts a different perspective on it.
Yeah. And great skills to have for your, you know, to put into your horsemanship tool bag.
Yeah, amazing, really phenomenal. And
so can you do all the basics like tube and basic suturing and all that kind of thing?
I did at one stage, but we've got a little bit lazy in that now. You know, I mean, if there's I think from, you know, it's easier to now just call the vet and say, like, you know, but I mean, if there's a mass panic at jar, then I can. But you know, sometimes people see you at shows and they say, like, oh, would you mind giving my horse an injection? Like, what? Like, definitely not. I don't even do mine.
Yeah. Grant, so this whole time you were competing, you were juggling the two, you were still riding and competing, or did you put the riding on the back burner while you were at OP?
I never put the riding on the back burner because it was something that was in me, and there was no ways that it was gonna stop. So basically, what I did is I had two horses at Errol Booker Phoenix Place for a while, and he was a great man, great man, and I mean, we used to laugh when he came out of the house. If he took a swing at the dog, then you knew it was going to be a hectic day. If he came out and was like calling it nicely, you knew you were safe, you know. But I had two horses there, so I used to go and ride them before work. So I used to start riding them at like 5 in the morning in pitch dark if need be. Then change quickly, go through to Onderstepoort to be there on time, work the whole day, and then in the evening come back. If I hadn't finished all the horses, then work one more in the evening, and then go on home.
That's a long day. I mean, OP's not exactly around the corner. No,
but I could tell you that I worked out every shortcut. I used to listen to the radio where there were accidents, whatever. I mean, how I made it on time some days was by the skin of my teeth. It was a bit hectic.
Yeah. And then at what stage did you move on to, because you had a stint working for Ronnie as well, Ronnie Lawrence?
Okay, so what happened there was that the property that I was renting was where the spelling farm was, came on the market. And I'd seen Ronnie at a show, and he'd said that, oh, you know, they're looking for a property because they're going to start a stud farm and that. And I said, well, the one that I'm at is for sale. And they came out and they had a look at it, and he bought it, I think, in partnership with one of his aunts or something like that. And then
he had a Swedish patron, and I think Vivian and Stieg.
Yeah,
I think that's how it works.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So, you know, you also get sort of a little bit taken up into the, you know, you want to jump the big classes, and you see the horses and the success and blah blah blah. You know, so you get sort of like wound up, and you think, well, flip, I really want to give it my best to try and get to that. So I actually resigned from Onsiput at that stage, and because I was still living on the property, obviously, when it was for sale. So I thought, well, actually, it makes, you know, like a no-brainer that I could still carry on, compete with my horses, blah blah blah. Anyway, they then decided that I resigned, and I spent a few months there, not a hell of a long time. Started helping them get the stud up and running. And then I bumped into one of the people that I worked with, where they said, look, they're battling to fill my post. And, you know, I looked at it and I thought, you know, actually, in hindsight, I was better off where I was. So I went back to Onsiput. And when I was there, I then obviously wanted to get involved with the breeding side a little bit. So the Foresight Welsh Pony Stud came on the market, and they were going to sell them off individually. And I knew that it was Ida Illingsworth's wish that the stud stayed as a nucleus, you know, breeding nucleus. So I put in an offer for the remaining stud after she'd passed away, and it was accepted. And I'd actually borrowed the money from my grandfather to pay for them, which he was a tough nut, because it had to be a legal agreement. It had to be signed and stamped by an attorney, the whole thing, the whole payment scheme. And so,
no, quite right. I mean, we know how rotten grandchildren can be. Quite right. Good on your grandfather.
I should have been a trust fund kid. Trust me, I should have.
Yeah, me too. Trust me. Me too. So when was that? What year was that? Because were you at Ronnie's before I was there? I was there 99. So you.
No, that must have been after me. I moved down to Natal, I think the end of 98, beginning of 99, somewhere around there.
Okay. All right. I probably got your job at Ronnie.
Most probably, shame.
Now, before you, am I correct in saying you had a bad fall at one stage? You were on an outride or something and the saddle slipped? Was that another grant or was that you?
No, it was me.
And that was in Joburg, and that was quite a hectic fall, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was quite hectic. To this day, I still don't know exactly what happened. But at that stage, I was having 1 or 2 lessons with Gonda. And I'd had a lesson the day before. My horse was at Linda Kirschman's place. And he'd worked quite hard, and I thought, I'll just take him for a walk around the block going towards Kyalami Park there. And yeah, somewhere after George Philippides' place, I don't know what happened, but I came off. And, you know, when you sort of think you're young and cool and hip and happening, you don't ride with a hard hat. So I didn't have a hat. And I came off and I hit my head really badly. And I'm not sure who found me on the side of the road, but somebody did. And yeah, I ended up in hospital, came around in hospital and had a base of skull fracture. So was out of riding for a little while, not too long. But yeah, with that severed the nerve pathways across the front of my head, and I lost my sense of smell and taste. So that was a whole thing that had to sort of reestablish itself. But yeah,
so now if somebody slaps you on the forehead, can you feel it?
100%, but they better have good reflexes because they'll be double back.
Yeah, I remember that fall. I remember it was quite serious. Now, please tell me you wear a helmet these days.
Without a doubt, and whoever rides with us, I mean, whether they're just even doing a saddle fit or whatever, you know what? It's yeah. I mean, I got off lightly. I got away with it very. I was very lucky. So, I mean, yeah, anybody who thinks that they can do it without a hat is just an idiot.
Yeah, my sentiments exactly. So you made the after you acquired the stud, you made the trip down. Tell us about those initial years. Did you carry on breeding the Welshies? Are you still doing that? Great that you kept the name of the stud as well.
Yeah, look, it was there was a little bit of opposition to keeping the name, and that they can't say all that warming to me, you know, having, you know, taking over the ponies, because I'm not sure why, but anyway, it was a little bit of a battle. And I mean, it was quite ironic because when I was in Pony Riders, there was one pony called Foresight Cambrian Thomasina. That was it was the hip and happening pony of the time. It did absolutely everything. It won dressage, jumping, you name it. And it came on the market, and I said to my folks, please, you don't understand. I would give my kidney for this pony. And I said, well, how much are they wanting for it? And I think it was like 8,000 Rand. My dad said, not a chance. Crazy. So I never got Thomasina. I got a 100 Rand job. So, but when I did the deal to take over the stud, Thomasina was part of the stud, but she was so old that she had to be put down before, you know, I took the stud over. But I mean, I did get to see her for a few months before the end of her time there, which was quite amazing. And yeah, I mean, so bought the stud, started breeding the ponies, and then progressed to one or two warm bloods.
And in terms of a riding facility, what was there when you bought it? Because you've got all the bells and whistles now, but you've done a lot of work.
Okay, so when I moved down, actually when I left Onderstepoort, I'd done some part-time lecturing at the Technikon, and Dr. Sutherland was there, and he said, there's people from the Racing and Equestrian Academy have contacted us. They're looking for somebody. I think you should contact them. And I said to him, well, it's not, I'm quite happy where I am, but thanks, you know. So I never really did anything about it. And then they contacted me and they said, don't you want to come and see us? So I came down and I saw the Racing and Equestrian Academy, and there's so much potential there. And it was an exciting venture. It was something that, you know, was a new challenge. So I left Onderstepoort and I started working at the Racing and Equestrian Academy, which I had a house on the academy property,
at the Jockeys Academy.
The Jockeys Academy, yeah.
So why you bought the stud? It didn't have a house, or that was just part of your agreement?
I didn't buy the stud. I just bought the horses as the stud. I didn't buy the stud farm.
I see. Okay.
So the horses were still at my parents' place, and then when I moved down, I moved them to a farm in the Midlands until I got the property where we are now. So when I initially moved down, started at the academy, and then Kyla moved down from Onderstepoort, and I think I stayed at the academy in the academy house for I think two years, and then there was a property in Summerveld that came on the market of the guilds, which I'd driven past many times and had fallen in love with, and came on the market, and I mean, we managed to make a plan to get it. I mean, it was blood, sweat, tears, and somebody had to sort of stand as a guarantor for us, which was, quite a good thing for us, quite an honourable thing for them as well. So yeah, that's where the journey of where I am now started.
I was getting a little bit confused. I thought where you are now was the Foresight stud originally. You saying no, it was okay.
The original Foresight stud was in White River.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was in White River. Then there was donated to Onderstepoort, and then when Ida Illingworth passed away, they said that they weren't going to carry on with them. They wanted to sell them off.
Okay. So where did you moved all the horses once you bought the stud to Onderstepoort? Is that what you're saying?
They were at Onderstepoort.
They were at Onderstepoort. Okay.
They were at Onderstepoort, yeah. But the whole original Foresight stud had been moved from White River when Ida Illingworth, I think she was too old she donated them to Onderstepoort. And I think they were hoping that possibly when she passed on, that maybe there would be a trust or something that would be able for them to continue breeding with the ponies, because they did breed a few. And they elected not to. And that's where they were going to sell them off individually. And I just thought it would be quite a sad thing for them to go off individually, whereas there was still quite a reasonable group of them that could carry on with.
Yeah. Did you carry on? I want to come back to the academy in a second, but while we're on this thought, did you carry on breeding the ponies from Natal when you moved to that property? Is
Yes.
there any legacy of the Foresight original bloodlines and Welshies left?
Okay, so the original stallions, I mean, Foresight, the original Pendock Foresight, who came from Wales. He died at the age of 33, and Bannett Boy, I think, was 34 when he died. So those were the original ones. We've kept some of the older mares and that, but the problem is that the whole dynamics changed in that. And when I looked at it, everything in the world has become faster, more accessible. So it's happened with the ponies as well. So instead of having kids that were prepared to produce ponies and do pony club and all of that, they wanted to be able to be, an Olympic swimmer and a top rider. So they needed something that was already going. So it made it difficult to produce them. And then when the whole height reclassification started coming in, and that, I mean, I saw the writing on the wall there with that. And I just said, it's just, that's it. When you're breeding part-bred ponies for sport and stuff like that, it's too big a risk. You have something that's 1 centimeter over the height, and that's it. What can you do with it? You can't do anything with it. And I didn't want to breed horses indiscriminately, so I stopped with the ponies, which was quite a sort of a heart-sore decision, because I mean, we had ponies that had been on all the different provincial teams and won 1 or 2 SA champs and things like that. So it was, it wasn't a money-making thing, but it was a real joy and a passion to watch them grow up and be part of them and see them go from one kid to the next and stuff. So I often bought back older ponies and things like that and rehomed them. But yeah, we've stopped with the ponies completely now, because first of all, the height thing is too questionable, and that there's no, with the multidiscipline for ponies, it's forcing kids to specialize too early. So instead of being able to go to a show and do a bit of dressage, eventing, jumping, and equitation and showing, which we all grew up doing, at least 2 or 3 of those disciplines when we went to some of these sort of further away shows. It's now they want the ready-made product, and with that comes the ethics involved of producing them and training them, and there's more that have come from the mountains.
And also Pony Club. I mean, I'm told that it still exists, but it must have diminished greatly. And of course, in the old Pony Club, you used to do the Gymkhana games and all that kind of thing, and those ponies were perfect. But we've even moved on from that.
We have, and it's got to level out at some other stage. It's a little concerning because one of my biggest concerns with the current sort of equestrian business, because it's become a business now, it's not just a sport anymore, is that there is a huge loss of horsemanship. And there's a greater move to instant gratification. You can buy ready produced horses at vast sums of money, and which is good for people in the business and that, but it doesn't. I think for younger kids and that, there's got to be some element of perseverance to push through, to train, to appreciate a good moment, to be able to work through the more difficult times. And I think it's a problem that it's become too sort of almost online.
Yeah, no, totally agree. But we'll chat more about that, because you've got some fantastic guys in your yard who have stuck it out, and I can see the horsemanship in them. But we'll come back to that. I just want to go back to the academy. What was your role? You say you were they needed a teacher, but what teaching? Just basic equestrian horsemanship, horse care, and was it for? I'm not sure if they still have that academy going for outsiders, or do they?
They don't have it for outsiders. For outside apprentice jockeys, yes, but they closed down the equestrian side.
That's right.
I think it needed maybe a little bit of remodeling and stuff like that. And it's a lovely facility. I think it's got such heritage in that there. I think it needs people to be still be involved and to keep the momentum going there. I think there's it's a good place. So the equestrian side, basically what I was involved with was teaching some of the riding, and then teaching the class as well. I did the post-matrics for like stud management and equine sciences, which was an IAB thing, so they had to do their matric exams, and so was involved with all of that as well. Met some amazing people, some really nice kids through that system, and some real shockers as well. But you know what?
Well, that's the trade-off.
Yeah, some real shockers. But the amazing thing is that some of the shockers that I'm not trying to sort of call it as it is, who I think would have wanted me gone and done and dusted, have subsequently contacted, and it's nice to see the journey that some of those kids have gone, and they're still involved in horses in different ways, and to see some of the apprentice jockeys, the ones that really battled in the beginning to are now really established professional jockeys. It's
So you were teaching the jockeys in those classes as well. It wasn't just those who had enrolled in the equestrian school. They pushed the jockeys from the academy into your classes as well.
Yeah. So it was a combined class, the equestrians and the jockeys, and quite a diverse group, because you had kids from very wealthy backgrounds and kids from very poor backgrounds, all in one class together, and kids that were quite academic, and kids that really battled. And it was to try and keep it that it was fair for all, and that they all could carry on their trade by getting the grades that they needed to. So some needed a little bit of prompting, but it was for me it was a huge learning curve. I think I learned more about people there than I think most.
And you were giving riding lessons as well, but they also have the Jockey Academy, a riding master. So you would have to work quite closely with the riding master. Was it still Vince Curtis when you were there?
Yeah, the Curtises were there. The riding masters were involved with just apprentices. We were just involved with the equestrian kids. So it was two completely different spheres of the equestrian industry, but we all merged together in one sort of class for the academics. But the actual practical riding was completely different. I think that's where our sport needs to sort of really look at being more of a collective group, and embracing one another's disciplines to get it where it needs to be.
Yeah. So you left the academy, and after you'd bought the farm, and what was the plan? You were going to set up and establish an equestrian facility and train and coach and ride?
So when got in the interim, had got married to Carla. Carla had come down, was working at a veterinary practice here, and then got offered an opportunity to go and work in Australia for the breeding season there. So Carla went to work in Australia and in Turkey at the big Turkish national stud. And that was also a real eye-opener to get to see that side. But I started basically, there was no equestrian facilities other than the stables and that on the property that we bought for to competitive riding and stuff like that. That was not there. So I needed to put in arenas and things. So it's been a long haul, but yeah, I mean, I first started with doing spelling and pre-training again, because I knew it, and we had access to a track, and we actually had 1 or 2 racehorses there, so we had work riders that could ride to the track, work horses, and bring them back. So started with that, and then slowly started to sort of scape the property and make it more for competitive horses.
And you've done it the hard way, Grant, because there weren't like piles of cash or reserves that you had just waiting to be used for whatever you wanted. You had to work on the property, collect some more cash, build your business, work on the property. So it was an incremental stage development.
Yeah, it was. And I mean, if I would lift my shirt and show you the scars on my back from how hard it's been at times. It hasn't always been, sunshine and roses, but if you've got a goal at the end of the way, and you've got to push through. And yeah, I mean, I've been lucky. There've been some people that have been part of our lives that have sort of been encouraging and motivating, and it has been a long haul. But if I look at what I could have done or where I am now, I look back and I think, it was actually all worth it. And I have enjoyed it, and I don't believe I'm finished yet. There's still plans, and, we're going to sort of carry on. But it hasn't been an easy road. And as you say, I mean, it's had to be when we've had money, or, and it's also been hard decisions. And there's been decisions where you've had to sell a young horse that you think, like, this could be a really, really good horse. But for the next project, you have to have the cash to do it. And also what happened, what along the way as it grew, because when we started, Carla started with a veterinary practice on the same property. But as both businesses grew, we needed to separate them. So we were fortunate enough that I heard of the property next door that was going to get subdivided and was coming on the market. And we first inquired about it, and they wanted quite a bit for it, and it was just not an option. And then about a year or two later, I heard rumblings that things had changed and things like that, and contacted one of the agents that I knew quite well, and they said that, look, they want to sell, and you need to jump in quick. And yeah, that was another blood, sweat, and tears venture. And of course, we said, of course we can, and we had to make a plan and bought that. And Carla has developed a beautiful veterinary practice on the other property.
What property was that? It's not Hawkstone, was it?
It's the subdivision of Hawkstone House, yeah. So it's where the racing stables were in Hawkstone House.
Yeah, so, that is that, because that was it still is a beautiful, beautiful property.
Yeah. And I mean, Carla's done a beautiful job with what she's done with the practice, and it's a fully fledged practice now with surgery, equine surgery facilities, small animal facilities. They do a lot of stud work as well. So yeah, it's that's also, I've been involved with that, with helping develop that and that as well, and it's also been a great journey.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to see it when you're in it, but when you get to where you are now and you look back and you see how much you've achieved and how much it's developed and grown. It must be very rewarding, very satisfying.
It is rewarding. You know, there's some days that you think like, oh, you know, like, you know, where to from here? And, you know, it's, you know, you see people that are like, oh, we're going for our 6-week skiing holiday to Austria and that, and you think, okay, well, I could put some more surface in my arena, you know, so it's the arena, you know,
yeah.
so.
Or if only you could get away from the horses and take any holiday.
You know, the amazing thing is though that often, like, there's been very few holidays that we've gone on that it hasn't actually involved horses in some way or another, and I think I think that's the beauty with the equine industry is you meet such a diverse set of people and stuff. It can take you to so many different places in the world, and you know, you see places and you realize what else is out there, and yeah, I think we're very privileged here.
Now, you set up the stud as well. You moved away from the ponies into the warm blood breeding. Obviously, Carla also has a huge passion for it. You have that passion for it. How did it all get going? Where did you source your mares from? How big is your band of brood mares? I mean, some of those formative years as to where you are now.
Okay, so my first brood mare was a thoroughbred mare that I bought. She was a crossman mare. Had a super jump, and was a really classy horse. She was inspected way back when by the Warm Blood Society in those days and got a premium, which I didn't even understand what that was at that stage. I just thought it was like good grades, but whatever, it sounded fancy. And yeah, I was actually competing her, and she had to become a brood mare because I missed so badly one day to a jump. It was a big aqueduct wall that I was coming into, and there was a dog lying underneath it. And yeah, and I did one of those, should I go, shouldn't I go, should I go, shouldn't go, and yeah, I missed. So we plowed through it properly. The dog was still alive after that.
Oh, that was my next question. What happened to the dog?
Yeah, and yeah, she wasn't so sound the next day, understandably so. And we thought, oh, you know, it won't be the end of the world. She's just a little bit of a lump and a bump. But she chipped her sesame like a proper shot. So it was, okay, so, you know, there we go. Now moved on to be a broodmare. And yeah, I was really bummed about that. That still haunts me to this day. Yeah. But when I look back at what she started, you know, it's been an amazing journey as well. We put her first in foal to Lindenberg, and I bred 2 foals out of her by Lindenberg. The first one was Lithium that jumped up to opens. I had him in the Complete Horse Derby. He was 2nd and 4th into was Avis, then Complete Horse Derbies, and did a whole lot of things. And then the second one, and he was sweet and cuddly and really nice and big. The second one foal was Lois Lane, who came out at 2 days old, gnashing its teeth with its ears back, and yeah, was a real number from day one, boy. And Lois, I started to produce, and she had a small OCD chip, and so we sent her off to have surgery before we had our surgery things and all that, and she came back, and I said, but I think it was the other leg. And when they went they had done surgery on the wrong leg. So Lois had.
Did they find a chip in the wrong leg?
Well, so they say they did, but yeah. So I was like, how the hell does that work, you know? So anyway, so then she went back and she had a second surgery. So she was out for some time. She started off. She wasn't the easiest to start with, but I mean, when she got going, she was my diesel horse. I mean, she helped me get to and from many a show because she went in and she was well placed often, and her prize money often paid the diesel home. Yeah. So Lois was the second one. The third one that I bred out of that was small and not very nice. So I didn't even back her. I watched them starting to back her, and I just thought, what's the point? And use her as a surrogate mare. So she stayed as a surrogate mare. And then it slowly progressed. We went and bought one or two others, and it's grown from there.
The band of broodmares that you do have now, so did she become your foundation mare, and you've subsequently bred with her daughters, so you still have that lineage, and then you've brought in other mares?
Haven't really bred with her daughters. She was really good herself. Lois, we did one embryo with, and he showed a lot of promise as a young horse, and we sold him again because we've got projects that we needed to do and stuff. He was a gelding, so he didn't have any sort of stud value at that stage, and subsequently had a bad colic and had to be put down. And then I went and I borrowed a bit of money, and we went overseas, and we bought two mares overseas. One being Sissy, and the other one being Carmel. And Carmel has been a great mare. She's given us really, really nice horses. And then over the years, we've acquired and collected one or two others that have come and done embryos. We've been very lucky with doing the embryos. Carla's had great success in doing some frozen semen embryos and that for me. But breeding's not for the faint-hearted.
Lots of disappointments and expensive game, and luck does certainly come into it as well. But you mentioned Sissy, wonderful mare that you've had. So first of all, before we go into Sissy, how big is your broodmare band now? How many are you breeding a year?
So I try not to breed more than I breed between sort of 5 and 10 a year. That's it. We like to stay involved with them, watch them grow up, and we're quite realistic about them. Not everybody's going to be a superstar, but there's one or two that I think are going to be really good horses along the way, and that's the beauty of it. It's those ones that keep you motivated.
Another big feather in your cap and brought you a lot of satisfaction is you've ridden your homebreds, and they've turned out to be really nice horses and won you lots of classes. We'll talk about some of them later, but let's go now back to Sissy, because she was a phenomenal mare. Not easy.
No.
Was she the first one that kind of put you into the big time, or was that Patrick?
I first started with Sandakan, which was a grey horse of Eunice Lane's that she had, and he was very, very quirky, very difficult. She actually gave him to me with a signed contract that the first time he tried to kill me, he must be put down. He was just misunderstood. He was not a horrible horse. He was just misunderstood. And he had his way, and you had to work with him and that. But he was a great horse. I jumped him up into a couple, I'd say like 145. I think I had one crack at one or two 150 classes, and then that was his bundle. Then the next.
Did Brendan ride him before you got him?
No. It was, I don't quite know how she ended up with him. I'm not sure. It was a few when she bought him and that, but it was not a horse for Brendan. He stayed with me for forever and a day, and was also a great learning tool as it went. Then I suppose the next then I had bought a horse from Lorette called Wayfarer, who was Poland's Wayfarer, who also had a big heart and a big head. He looked a little bit like a wildebeest, but he wasn't going to win a showing class. But I jumped him up to the 140s, and he was a great horse. I mean, not a superstar, but I also had some good classes with him. Then the next one who was quite difficult was Patrick. I bought Patrick. He was the Lambert's son they'd bought him, Xavier, and he was finding him a little difficult. He was stopping quite badly with him and that. I think it was just coming from ponies to a big horse. It was quite a big adjustment. And they sent him to me to sort of school and ride a little bit. And he was difficult. But I liked the horse. I quite enjoyed it. And then they contacted me to say that they were going to sell him. And did I know of anybody? And I just thought, sure, timing wasn't ideal. But I said, look, give me a little while. Let me see what I can do. And made a plan and bought Patrick. And he jumped some big classes with me. He also ran away in a lot of classes with me. So he was a good horse.
And he took you around the Derby a few times, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He was quite brave. Like, it was funny. He hated hacking out. If he went out, it was like his absolute worst. But in the arena, he was as brave as a lion. And in my first Derby that I did with him, ran away with me, and properly. And I was the only person that came down that little balustrade one at the top of by the steps, or the table crossing there. Everybody lands and does this beautiful, neat little turn in front of the bale, the big straw bale jump, and goes back up to the road crossing one. I flew over that. He took off down. I was hanging on the left rein, pulling as hard as anything to try and get him to turn. I thought I was going to go into the clubhouse at one stage. And then he saw the hill back up there. Oh, it was terrifying, but I wasn't going to give up. I did 1.5 steps on the road crossing. And when we came to the bank, I was standing bolt upright like a meerkat, I think, hanging on for dear life. And out the corner of my eye, I saw the jump judge run backwards, which I thought, that's surely not a good sign. But I got round and they politely said, oh, I think Grant's been run away with. Yeah, I was properly run away with. And
my word. I always thought Patrick looked like quite a nice, easy, straightforward guy. I never knew that side of him.
Yeah, no, he was quirky. A couple of times, like loading him, going to a show, he would walk to the truck and then next minute just gap it and be gone. And he would leave the property. He would gallop out and run down the road because he knew you were going to be late. And then he would come trotting back up at his own leisure. And then once he'd done that, he'd walk into the truck like there was no problem. He did it. He did it to me down at the Cyril Gagan at one of Sue's big shows. Yeah. I went to go and find him, and my one groom said to me, no, he's gone. I said to him, what do you mean he's gone? And they said, no, he ran up the bank here when that truck came in and he's gone. I said, but the main road is there. They said, yeah, we know. And
yeah, last spotted in Glenwood.
Yeah, heading down NMR Drive. 5 minutes before my class. It was a good warm-up.
Oh, my word. So, was he still on the scene when Sissy came on the scene? They were kind of at the same sort of time?
I had Sissy and Cedarwood. Cedarwood had also bought as a young horse and taken up the grade. So I was lucky. I had Sissy, Cedarwood, and Quamel, all of which I'd produced. And they were all in the open classes and preamble as well at that stage. So I was really lucky at that stage. I had a nice string of horses that had sort of got going and was able to travel and do a lot of shows. So Sissy was on, had started coming through when he was
and she tell us a bit about her, because she was fiery. I mean, she wasn't easy. She was blood.
Yeah. Sissy, when we went and bought her overseas. We weren't intentionally going to go and buy a horse, but we went to a dealer's yard and they brought out 1 or 2 horses, and they brought out some young horses to pre-jump. She was a 2-year-old, and they brought her out and they pre-jumped her, and she had a nice jump, but she was like hot, and she landed and she kept on cantering back towards us and stuff like that. And we just thought, gosh, it's a really nice horse, and, maybe we must look at doing something. And then there was another horse as well, which he showed us. And we said, yeah, okay, we were interested. And when we were finished, he said, okay, he quoted us the price. I said, okay, I'll take both of them. Carla said, no, you won't. He said, yes, we will. So we ended up buying both horses. And at that stage, we said, and at that stage, they said, look, you're going to get bring her back here and see how it goes. And she was crazy to start with. But a most amazing personality. I really had a lot of fun with her.
Yeah. And she won plenty. Some of your big successes on her?
So, yeah, I mean, Sissy won a lot of 140 classes at Maple Ridge and things like that. She won at Polokwane. She won the World Cup qualifier there. She was, I think, second and third in 2 of them there. She won, I think, 2 Grand Prix as well. Yeah, I mean, she had her own way of going, and unbelievable.
Yeah. Did you breed with her? Did you take embryos?
Yeah, I bred with her. I did an embryo with her. So I've got a 4-year-old gelding out of her by Casper, which is now, I've just started with him, which I think is going to be an interesting horse. It was filly, but she's a little bit small. She's only young. And then I've done 1 frozen semen directly with her, and that's a yearling. So time will tell. But
who's that by?
That's by Amand.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be an interesting horse, but time will tell. You never know.
Yeah. And Grant, some of the stallions that you've brought in as well. I mean, everybody remembers old Billy with huge affection. Very sad loss for not only for you, but for the whole breeding industry as well. The story behind him, because he was a character.
Yeah, Billy he was a he knew how to put me in my box, that's for sure. We went overseas. We went to a selection show, and we were looking at horses, and there was one horse that got approved that I quite liked, and we went and inquired about it, and we'd have to sell more than 1 organ to pay for that. So we said that's out of the equation. But I'd marked him in my catalogue as well. I said, like, an interesting horse, but he was very under condition at that stage. He wasn't, like, it wasn't the right time for him to be at the stallion licensing show. So we were looking at horses, traveling around, and then we ended up at one of the stallion stations where they were collecting from stallions. And I chatted to the guy there, and he turned around and said that they showed us 2 young horses there, which didn't really do anything for me. And then he said that he's got this colt that he's wanting to sell. So in broken, he only spoke French. I mean, he spoke only English, so it was a bit of a disaster trying to communicate. He showed me in the catalogue, and I said to Carla, I wanted to go and see him. But we were on our way to catch our flight back home. So they said to us, they said, you're really pushing it. There's a chance you're going to miss your flight. I said, well, let's take a chance. I want to go and see him. So we flew in there to see him. I saw him on the lunge. They trotted him on the lunge and canted him on the lunge. They trotted him up the road for me. I said, yeah, I really like him. I'll take him. And that was how his journey started. And there was just something about him that I really, really wanted him. And they all said to me, like, you haven't seen this. They sent me a free jumping video. He wasn't like phenomenal in the free jumping video. But I said I wanted him. And he came in. And as a young horse, never really sort of showed much. He only really started jumping when the fences got bigger. But he could, leap and bugger around between fences and that. But he never.
So I'm battling to, when you say he wasn't in the greatest condition, I mean, I'm battling to imagine him you know, that picture that you have of him in your mind is this very burly, big, robust monster. Was he like that when he came in? Was he already big? Did he need time? Did he fill out over time?
He needed time, and he, like, he didn't do well in quarantine. He went into quarantine in Germany, and then I didn't really get any pictures of him, and he looked okay. He was light in condition and that. And then when he was in quarantine in South Africa, I don't know whether he just sort of stressed a little bit or what, but I went to go fetch him, and I had horses at a show at KAP, so I thought, well, I'll fetch him and then take him home there was a space on the truck. And when I went to go and fetch him, I was horrified. He looked like an SPCA case. I was so embarrassed. We put a blanket on him and, you know, sort of hid him in a stable and quietly brought him home. And he just needed time. And
easy to work with or difficult, or because I mean he looked like at times he could be a real handful.
Yeah, no, he could be a real handful. I mean, from the beginning, like if you try to boss him too much or something like that, he would let you know straight away that you were out of line, you know. He went through a stage. He was very cultish. We had to watch that. We never did any live cover with him. We only did sort of collected from the Phantom, and he got quite sharp with that. So we always had to watch him at shows. But on the flat and stuff like that, he had beautiful balance, and you know, his jump was always the same. He never jumped a jump as a young horse that you thought like, wow, this is amazing. But the jumps, you could put them up, and he just kept on jumping. And he was. I think he's the only horse that I've had that never ever stopped at a show at a jump at a show. Never ever. No matter,
including the 6 bars, no matter how big they were. I say including those 6 bars, no matter how big they went, because he won a good few of those. Yeah,
I mean, the 6 bar, I wasn't planning, like the 6 bar that he won at KAP. I wasn't planning on doing it. I jumped the class the day before as the last qualifier for the outdoor Grand Prix, and we had a difference of opinions as to what distance to go down to a big combination. So he decided he wanted to go in one less, and I was adamant that we wanted to go in one more. So
you decided to school him in the 6 bar. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So I didn't qualify for the outdoor Grand Prix because I had 3 fences down. So I was like, no ways. He must go back into the arena, and you know, just learn to sort of stay a little bit more focused. And it was I must say it was quite a memorable day.
Yeah. And Grant, he's bred very well. I mean, he's you've got some nice horses out of him, and some that have gone all the way.
Yeah, he's buying above. Strangely enough, his dam also won a high jump competition at some stage. I suppose it's most probably not. There's lots of power there. He could have had a little bit more elasticity in his body, but he had immense power, and you could put the jumps up, and that was never a problem for him. I think we've got 1 or 2 of these youngsters coming through, so who knows? Maybe we get something else, you know, as good as.
How big a loss? How hard did that hit you when you lost him? Big blow.
Yeah. I mean, that's still quite. That's still quite a wound. Yeah. You know, it's one of those that. I mean, it was so bizarre how it happened. I mean, I was awake and reading, and it was 10:30 at night, 11 o'clock at night, and I heard just one scrape. Because his stable's not far from the house, and I thought, you know, that's unusual. And I went out to check, and I listened. It was quiet, and then when I went to go check his stable, he'd only poured like 2 or 3 times. There was one little line, but he was breathing like he had just run the July or something.
Mm.
So, I mean, straight away, fortunately, the practice is right here. So we rounded up everybody and I brought him up. And I thought, well, maybe it's just like a bit of a spasmodic thing in that. And Carla checked him and she said, no, he's got to go into surgery straight away. I said, like, what do you mean? I said, I can't believe it. And yeah, it was just, he had such a bad volvulus that there's just no ways that.
Oh, shame. Sorry, man.
I mean, we tried.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it was a terrible news when we all woke and we found out. I'm really sorry. Some of the others that you've got, some of the other stallions.
Yeah. So the one other stallion that we got was Casper. I got him as a young horse as well. And I wanted something a little bit smaller, something a little less,
Billy.
Yeah, a little less Billy, yeah. Something that, a little cuddly, a little sweeter.
Yeah.
And that's what he is. I mean, he is an absolute gem. So he's by Eurocommerce Berlin, out of a Voltaire mare. And his dam line has produced another stallion at Sheraton that stands at BDL. So we've got some really nice youngsters of his. Him I was unlucky with in that he was quite naughty in his paddock. He liked to buck and leap around and he was out in the paddock one day and he was bucking and leaping and carrying on. And I said to the guys, just bring him in a little bit early. He's been a bit fresh and naughty. And the next day he was like a little bit footy. And we got barriers out checked. We thought maybe it was an abscess, a hoof abscess or something like that. The vets checked him out and they said, look, I mean, it might just be a bruising. And we poulticed it, and then I put him out in the paddock again, and then he let rip properly. And what he did is he tore the deep digital flexor tendon at the insertion of the navicular. And yeah, so that was, I mean, he was on 3 legs. I sent him up to Roy to also have a look at him, and they did a CT scan, and they said to me, look, we're gonna most probably end up putting him down. I said, not a chance. Even if he can breathe, he must come home. So I didn't have a truck up there, so he came down on his own in a truck, 3 legs, and he spent a year in a stable. And now he's sound that he can hack. So he's got an amazing temperament that he actually, his temperament allowed for him just to rest. So yeah, that's him.
And some of his progeny.
Some of his progeny, look, they young still. They're sort of starting to come through now. We've just started with one out of Leah, that's by him. There's another one that's out of Bali by him. So they sort of like, I think his oldest ones now are rising 5. So now we get to see they've free jumped well, and yeah, I think there's going to be some interesting horses coming out of
exciting. And Grant, your string now, your current string, tell us a bit about them. You mentioned Leah, of course there's the big mare as well, L&J, and one or two others. Really, you were mentioning diesel ponies earlier on. You've got a few diesel ponies in that string of yours. They are so consistent, and you're always up for giving it a go.
Yeah, look, I've got a nice string at the moment, and I just love the horses so much, and I love going to shows and watching other people ride, and I understand, like, when somebody does really well and the hard work that it's taken. You know what? I'm the first one to say well done, because I know what it takes to get there. And yeah, I think you've got to respect your horses, and even if, I mean, I've driven back on many a time from Joburg, wailing all the way, but why did I pull in that distance? Why did I do that? And it's, it is what it is. And I've just learned that, you really make the most of the good times, and you learn from the bad times. And the string that I've got at the moment have really helped me sort of level out those things out. So I've got Bengston, who we bred, that's out of Carmel. Yeah, he's also done well.
He's a Berlioz, isn't he?
No, he's by Berger. He's another.
Oh, Berger.
Yeah. Berger was a smaller stallion that was by Calvados that I brought in, and he was a beautiful stallion, small though, and yeah, he did a lot of showing and started jumping. Had a missed jump with one of the work riders jumping, and that sort of set him back. So
it wasn't the same dog, was it?
No, definitely not. No, that dog was barred from the arenas forever after that. So yeah, I mean, I used him with Carmel, and we did 2 embryos. I've got 2 embryos that season, and the one is a medium dressage horse in Cape Town, and he's the jumper. And from the beginning, when we started pre-jumping them, and that you could see one was a jumper and one was a dressage horse. It's quite amazing, yeah. Wow. And so there's him. There is Fly, who is related to Berlioz, and I saw her as a 3-month-old foal, and I really wanted her. I said to them, I really, really want her. And they said, no, that somebody's put down a deposit on her, they're going to buy her. And I asked once or twice, and 4 years later, they contacted me and said, the guy never really sort of finished up with paying for her and stuff. So I said, fine, I'll take her. So I went over to go and see her, and Jupiter. And I thought I could, I wasn't meant to be buying horses at that stage, and, you know, things were a little bit tight and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I decided I'd take a small loan.
Never too tight for horses.
No. So anyway, I bought the 2 of them, and then didn't tell anybody that they were coming in, didn't tell Carla that they were coming in. And I thought, yes, I'd nailed it, you know. Nobody was going to know. They were just going to arrive like magic ponies. And then one of them got sick in quarantine. Ugh. So we said, okay, that's fine. I'll sort that out. Just, you know, lay low. And then the one day, Carla walked past me. She goes, so how are your horses in quarantine? Like, just fine, thank you. So yeah, so I mean, all's fair. They understand now that, you know, there is a need for them. So I've got her, and that will be most probably be my bundle of horses that I get from overseas. Again, I think our local breeders are doing a stunning job with what they're producing and the semen that they've brought in. I think there's less and less of a need to go overseas, which is great.
Yeah. And from Fly, because I mean she's a stunning mare, big and scopy and covers ground. I mean she's a wonderful mare. Have you bred with her embryo?
I've done some embryos with her, and we've got a colt that is rising 3 at the end of the year. We pre-jumped him once, small, and he looks like he's going to be quite promising. And then I've did another flush with her. We've got 2 embryos, a colt and a filly, which are, I mean, they're yearlings now. So long road ahead, but exciting.
Yeah, but exciting, and so nice that you're breeding from stock that you've ridden as well. It's like keeping it in the family. It's very rewarding. Now, tell me, coaching, your initial move to the farm, was it difficult to find clients in the beginning, or something that just evolved organically? And how big a marketing exercise for an equestrian, for somebody like you who rides and coaches, is your string of horses and the success and the marketing, the talking that you and your horses do in the ring? in attracting clients to your setup? Does that
Yeah,
help is my question.
I mean, I'm sure it does help. It definitely does help. But what we, you know, we are prepared to help anybody at any level. You know what I mean? I don't mind giving a pole on the ground lesson. And we've got a nice mixture. We've got some dressage horses. We've had some eventers in here. We've had people that only want to do a bit of showing. And you know, there's a place for everybody, and everybody wants to feel part of it. And we encourage everybody, and we call it as it is. And there's no sort of, you know, because you've got a fancier horse, you're more important and stuff like that. It's, you know, we prepare.
No airs and graces.
No, you know what I mean. At the end of the day, it's, you know, to go and win a big class, you know, the next class you can be on your head, and you know what, so you know, be thankful and appreciate that one. But at the end of the day, if you don't interact and respect your horses in this game, the day you start getting bigger than the game is the day you must leave it, because then you're going to be in trouble, you know.
Yeah. How much joy does the coaching give you, especially when you see pupils like Courtney and Ryan doing so well and flourishing and really having a bright future, knowing that it's a lot of your time and your energy that you've put in?
I love it. I love it. I mean, it's something that and I mean, it's been something that I didn't realize how much I enjoyed it. You know, from when I started to where I am now, and well, the most remarkable thing is that I've seen how it's changed so many kids' lives. I mean, kids that have come from difficult backgrounds, kids that have had some real horrific tragedies in their lives and things like that. How interacting with the horses and you know, when you go and coach, you you wear many hats. You know, some days you get some people that they're having a real bad day and all they want to do is just tell you something, you know, and you've got to listen and keep it confidential, and at the end say, okay, but we're here to train, so let's, you know, make the most of it. And then there's the others that really want to do it well, and you know, the likes of the Courtneys and the Ryans and stuff like that, you know. And there's a lot that I can relate to. I mean, I can remember, you know, having my first clear round in a 130, and you know, this just that sense of being shook, you know, it's happened. And I think for me, that I want everybody to experience those good parts, you know. That's, and also at the end of the day, they must respect the horses. My guys know I'm very tough with them. If they don't respect the horses and don't look after the horses, it's game over.
Well, you're obviously doing a great job, because, I mean, Ryan and Jethro, they're part of the furniture. They'll never leave.
They're a great team. I mean, I must say they keep me on my toes. I mean, I really enjoy working with the two of them. You know, they're clowns. But they've got a good work ethic, and they've learned also. I mean, it hasn't all been sunshine and roses. There's been days where that both of them said that they just wanted to run away because it's been tough, you know. But they've gone through that, and they understand what it's like to be involved with the horses and the passion and that. And both of them have got great futures with it, you know. They honest and ethical young guys, and they're doing it for the right reason. And I will help anybody that does it for the right reason. It doesn't mean because of their, you know, background or how much they've got. These guys are doing it for the right reason.
Yeah. Now, one of the other caps that you wear is as a show director. Everybody really looks forward to the Winter Classic and coming down there. Wonderful show, great entertainment, great atmosphere. Fortunately, not happening this year, and this year was to be the final year of your Nissan contract, because the Nissan contract up here ran out at the end of last year, and yours, you were still in contract. Was Nissan going to go ahead, and will that roll over to next year, or is that unfortunately the end now?
No, unfortunately, that's the end now, you know. And I mean, Nissan has been such a game changer for equestrian in KZN, and I mean, we're ever thankful to them. It's amazing corporate bunch that have really helped many people in the equestrian world come, you know, with our event that we've had here. So yeah, huge thanks to them, and we hope that we will for next year. Now, once everything settles, that we'll be able to get more corporates involved and keep growing the show and carry on with it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, at that show, we do a lot of fundraising. You're involved with this school, so tell us a bit about how that has grown. And you know, and now's your chance, corporate guys or people who are looking for, you know, to donate some money can contact you, because you've built this wonderful school up, classrooms, playgrounds, and again for far less fortunate people.
Yeah, so each year when we've done one of our shows, we've tried to find a charity that we've helped. We've had SADA involved and Coastal Horse Care and those sort of places and that. And then, I mean, one of my wingmen when it comes to my horses is Dumasani, and his brother. But Dumasani, you know, he's missed one big show in my riding career, which is quite amazing. And that was the year that Billy was sixth in the Derby, and I was busy walking the course, and I thought, sure, you know, I don't know if I've bitten off too much here today, and you know, I was like walking the course on my own, and I thought, yes, this is, am I doing the right thing? Do I bail? You know? And a message came through on my phone, and I thought, you know, don't look at your phone now. And then I thought, you know what, actually, maybe it's the kids, maybe it's, I need to check. And I checked, and it was from Masani, and he said, and he says, "Sir, I'm praying for you." I didn't quite know how to take that, but he said, "I could be there," you know, and I thought, no, but I could be here too, you know, because he's like my wingman. And so anyway, when it came to one of the other charities and that, I mean, I said to him, you know, where do we go from here? I want to do something for one of the local communities. I said, I want to maybe do a nursery school. So I said, what nursery schools are in the area and that? And he said, well, there's 3 down in the area that they stay in. So I said, well, let's, you know, can we do something? He said, no. He said, no, don't go there. He said, because they're not proper and they will just take the money and not do anything with it. So I said to him, okay, so I said, what are the other options? I said, where do your kids go to school? So he said, no, his kid is going to just starting at the Umtumbukle school. And some of our other staff members' kids go there. And it's a government-run school. And Aubrey Kumalo is the headmaster. And it's a well-run school. It's way too small for the number of pupils that they've got. So I'm quite impulsive, and I can sort of, you know, if I want to do something, it can be a bit explosive. So I said to him, so where is the school? I didn't know where it was. I didn't understand it. I couldn't say the name. So he said, no, it's here. So I said to him, okay, you know what, enough of this. Get in the car with me now. We're going there now. So I was in my riding kit. So we raced across to the school. I got out, walked into the office, and I said, who's the headmaster? And they all like looked at me. I said, I want to know about your school. I want to see about your school. And he walked me around, and I walked into the grade R classroom. And I think there were, at that stage, I think there were 93 kids in a small standard classroom. And some of these kids were like 3 or 4 to a little table. Son was belting in the one. Some of them were asleep. They were so tired. So I said to them, how do you do this? What do these kids do? No, this is what they do. They come to school. I said, but if this is your way you start your schooling career, how would you ever want to finish school if this is how it started? So I said to him, well, you know, I want to try and do something. So we thought, okay, well, maybe we'd cut like a soccer field. So he said, yeah, that would be great, because I thought, you know, if there's sport, if kids do sport, they sleep better at night. There's less chance of them going to go and do stuff that they shouldn't be doing. There's, you know, the whole online platform that our kids are exposed to today is, I mean, it's very advantage. There's a great advantage to many of them, but it can also let a lot of them end up being in trouble. So I looked at it and I thought no, and I said, okay, well maybe what we'll do is we cut a soccer field. So I drove from there. I drove straight to somebody that I knew that's got a whole lot of excavating equipment. I said to them, I want you to cut a soccer field. So they said, well, this. I said, look, I want it done tomorrow. So they said, okay, we'll do tomorrow. So they went and they cut a soccer field. But then when we discovered where we leveled the soccer field, there's long-term plan for a media center. But I mean, it's just one story after the next after the next. So for the grade R's, then I said to them, but that it's such an awful thing for them to go to school and not do anything. So we found an area in the school and we built a playground. And we fenced it off. We put swings and slides, and we bought, toys and scooters and things for them to use. And it's a little frustrating because it doesn't always get used correctly. But when you saw the joy of those kids when we opened it up for them, I mean, like there was like a big model airplane it was an old toy that somebody had given us and we put in there. And two of these boys went and grabbed this plane and ran around and flew it. And, and who's to say that they're not going to become engineers or pilots or something one day? It gave them something else to maybe dream to become. And so we put that in, and we bought some supplies for the classrooms. And then we bring the kids every year to the Winter Classic show. This has been great in always doing a big kids play area. I mean, and they really go out of their way. And I asked them if we could bring the kids, and they said yeah. So we bring a busload of kids, about 80 kids each year to that. And I mean, the first year that we brought it, we put out all the jumping castles and that. And we said to them, okay, there we go. Now go and have fun. And there was one little toy that looked like a train. And all these kids went and tried to get in the train. That's all it is. It's just a train. Nobody went to the jumping castle. So I went to them. I went to the teacher. I said to them, what's the story with the jumping castle? They said, no, they've never seen this. They don't know what it is. And we actually got kids to go and jump on and show. And you know what? Those kids were in the element. And that's what it's about. Giving them some, that there's other opportunities, there's other things.
Yeah, just exposing them to other things.
Yeah. So I mean, we're a very small, very very small part of it. Then because of the grade R's, they've only got ablution facilities for small ablution facilities for all the kids, and they sit with a problem with the bigger kids bullying the smaller kids, and of course the little grade R's are the first to get their lunch stolen, or they've got a feeding scheme there because some of the kids arrive with no food and that. So I mean, there's other projects that need to be done. But we said, look, you've got to do something that these small kids have got to have their own ablution facilities and that. So with the money raised from the last one, we put in ablution facilities for the grade R's. So yeah, I mean, it's little things that we've done, but it's still a government school. I went to go and see the Department of Education to try and get assistance, but it's just, I think it's just such a draining system across the whole country that my pleas for help there's not going to do much. So you either just sit and wait, or you actually just carry on and get going with it.
Yeah, which you've done. And of course, if people want to donate, they can just get hold of you. Grant, final question before we let you go. You mentioned earlier, well, you are a clever guy. You have ideas. You're so involved with the sport. You're part of the fabric. Things that could change to progress our sport forward. Where do you see, what would you like to see happen in show jumping in South Africa to take us to a different place, a healthier place? Not that we're not healthy, but something that you would like to see implemented.
Yeah, I'd like to see a little bit more cohesion between some of the disciplines. I think all the top level riders, be it across all the disciplines, need to get off their high horses a little bit and stop thinking about just their disciplines. Grow it from the bottom. The majority of the riders are the lower level riders, and I think they are very, very important in the big scheme of things. You know what? And I know what it's like. I was a small guy with not a lot, and you know what? It's been a long journey, but if there's many out there, so I'd like to see that equestrian gets portrayed in a healthier image with better administrative people involved at a higher level, and that it's something that corporates can be proud of to be associated with. And I think if we can get that right, we could take it to a whole new level, and it has an impact on the riders. The riders will benefit. But I mean, equestrian fraternity across all the spheres supports so many households. And I think that is very important, that we sustain it, that we can keep growing it, that many, many people benefit from it.
Mm. And finally, on your bucket list, competitions you'd love to win. I mean, all of them. But if you had to pick, if you had to say, right, World Cups or series or derbies or SA Champs or outdoor Grand Prix, where does your heart lie?
You know, and I've always been a fan of the derby. You know, from small I've gone and watched, and you know, when you see, you know, how many great riders that have won it over the years, and that, and you know, and huge respect to all of them. That's one that I would love to do. But for me at this stage, every time I have a good round on one of my horses, be it a 90 centimeter horse or a 140 horse, you know, that for me, it just gives me a great feeling. I love it.
Final question. I know I said final question, but you are somebody that has made it in a seemingly almost impossible sport to make it without the financial backing and without, you know, that's the way it's gone. Very expensive. It's gone very professional. And guys in your position who are looking at this mountain ahead of them, or are passionate about doing it, just want to do it, but where it seems insurmountable, and can look at you and take advice from you, some of your life lessons, some of the things that you've learned, some of the mistakes that you've made that you can impart on them and say, well, don't do this. What would those be? What would that be? Grant's key to success.
I think you need to have grit, and you have to have a good work ethic. And you know what? It's appreciate the small things. You know, it's those that end up being the big things later on. You know, if you start off, have a goal that you want to win big classes or have top horses and that, but be realistic along the way. You know, so not every horse is going to be a champion, and some horses you need to say, okay, I've done my time with them. There's a better rider, more suitable rider for that. I need to progress to the next level. Or there's horses most of my horses have been write-off horses that have been problem horses, and it's just understanding them. You know, it's that passion and horsemanship. You've got to have that. It doesn't matter what jacket you wear or how much the bridle or saddle costs and that. If you don't understand horses and the mechanics of horses, and you don't appreciate them, you're not going to get there.
Grant, I've loved this chat. I doff my cap to you, sir. It's been a great road that you've gone on, and it'll be wonderful to come out this on the other side and have you back at shows and get that Winter Classic up and running. We're all champing at the bit to get back, and it'll be good to see you in the ring. Thank you for your time and for all your dedication to the sport and your contribution to equestrian sport. It means a lot. Thank you.
No, thank you guys, and thank you to you and Madeline and that. You know, your KPC team has done a great job with doing all of these interviews, I think, and the momentum that you've kept. You've got a great team there, and I mean, the place was looking amazing for Derby. That's wonderful to see, because a lot of people are like, oh, you know, what about this? But I mean, when I drove in and I saw what you guys had done at Derby, I was like, wow, these guys are doing good things. And if you keep that going, it keeps an icon of our sport alive.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good evening, Grant. We'll see you on the other side. Take care.
You too. Thanks, eh?
All the
Cheers.
best. Cheers. Bye.